Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I am doing a Young Justice review for Season 2, Episode 9, called Darkest. And this is the second episode of the return from the hiatus, so we're still getting into the groove of Young Justice. And, yeah, so let's talk about the episode. But before I talk about the episode, just want to tell you guys, my Young Justice review for next week is probably going to be a little delayed. It's still going to be probably on Saturday, depending how tired I am, because I'm going to New York Comic Con that weekend, so I won't be able to watch the episode on time. I'm going to DVR it, and when I get home, I'll have to see, how tired I am and see if I fall asleep or not. But if I don't fall asleep, then I'm going to try not to. Then I'm definitely going to just watch the episode and do a review probably in the night. But I'll still have the review up, so don't worry. I just want to give you that little update heads up that, next week's review is not just going to be a couple hours late, but probably in the night instead of the afternoon. Let's start the review for Darkest. This episode is a very big Aqualad episode because last episode is kind of the consequences of Artemis dying and all this other fun jazz. But with this, it's more of like, what is Artemis doing now that she's teaming up with Aqualad, and we get to see a little bit of that. To tell you the truth, Artemis wasn't in this episode so much. We saw her a lot, but we didn't get to see her do much in this episode. But yeah, we got to see her fight a little, but we didn't really get to see her talk that much, to tell you the truth. But we get to see her, taking the Tigress persona, where in the comic books that was her pre-New 52 identity, and that's what she used to be in the comic books before she came into Young Justice and took the persona of Artemis, and made that character totally different. But yeah, so she's taking the Tigress persona as her her second hand for Aqualad. So she's pretty high in the rankings for Aqualad. But in this episode, we get to see Aqualad still going undercover, and having to uh, pay loyalty to his father, saying the father says, "Oh well, the light, they don't believe that you're really, you're on the Young Justice team now. You still have to make a point that you're evil now." So he has to go to Mount Justice and take Blue Beetle, and he is gonna even take the risk of even making Mount Justice explode, and that's exactly what he does. He tells Artemis, "Hey, make Mount Justice explode," and she's like, "Are you sure? Like, we don't have to do this." And he's like, "Do it." So, because the reason he does this is because to give intel to Nightwing. But when Wally finds out about all this, he is furious because he's like, well, the one person he really cares about through all of this, thick and thin, is his girlfriend. That's Artemis, and he wants the best for Artemis, and he knows this is a very dangerous situation that she's in. So Wally's like, Artemis could have gotten hurt. How do we know that Aqualad is even on our team? How do we know if he's not a triple agent? How do we know that he's not fooling us to be closer to Black Manta? A lot of things has happened to him in his life in these couple of years. He found out who his real father was, and he became part of this whole entire group to try to be a double agent. And his girlfriend died a couple of years ago. So how do we know that he's not tricking us? So that makes Dick think a little, which is a good thing. Do we know it's true or not? Who knows? Because we do see Aqualad is trying to give intel to Nightwing, and did the whole thing with Artemis. So how do we know he is what side he really is on? And I think Wally brings a lot of points. And tell you the truth, that was my favorite scene in this whole episode, and I'll probably watch it again after. But that's definitely my favorite scene, was that whole Wally and Nightwing talk, because I felt like in this episode the one thing that was missing was someone talking about this whole situation of them knowing that Artemis and Aqualad are undercover. And I'm glad that Wally and Nightwing were the characters to talk about it, because I was like, oh, maybe Artemis and Aqualad, they'll go to the side and they'll talk about it, but they couldn't because they're undercover. They could talk about it, which I wanted them to, because I feel like that would have been a good scene, but they could do it, and I'm glad that Wally and Nightwing could do it. That way they could talk about that situation, and like I said, I just feel like Wally had a lot of great points with that, and I'm on Wally's side. because I don't know who to trust. And I don't think Wally's saying Aqualad is definitely a triple agent. He's not. He's just saying, watch out. And, this is my girlfriend. If she dies, it's on your hands. Because I don't trust Aqualad. Not saying he is a triple agent, but I don't trust him. And I think, again, Wally has a good point. And in this episode, I feel like that was the best part of this episode. Was this more of a filler episode? Yes, even though Mount Justice didn't, blow up, and that was a big part of this episode and a big part of this series, because that is their home. I still felt like it was more of a filler episode, because I guess because I'm not a big Aqualad fan, but I did like seeing him see how evil he is, and maybe he's not evil, and still seeing that, and trying to see the situation of, is Aqualad on his father's side or on Young Justice's side, and try to figure that out. I did like seeing that, but it was more of a filler episode. Oh, let's kidnap these three and bring them in. I don't know, I just didn't love this episode as much as I did last episode, so I'm gonna give this 4 stars. Again, there's a lot that happens in this episode. It's just that I didn't love this episode, and I think next episode we'll have to see the situation grow, and maybe episodes to come. Because I feel like this episode is more like putting the pieces together, and maybe the episode doesn't mean much now, but in the future it'll be like, oh, that happened in this episode. We knew that, Wally said this. And I think this is going to be more of a looking back episode to kind of fit the pieces of this season 2 puzzle. Another thing I liked in this episode was the Mal and I think it was Bumblebee. I like that we never even seen them kind of confront each other, and especially because Bumblebee, Superboy, Miss Martian, and Mal went to the same high school, and they mentioned it sometimes, but it was kind of cool to see them kind of interact and see different characters interact. I haven't seen Mal done anything. To tell you the truth, I didn't even know he existed until a couple episodes ago, so it's cool to see him kind of shine in this episode a little, and hopefully they kind of go back to the high school days, or at least describe them a little bit more, because I feel like I would love to see how they all really became friends, because in season 1 they weren't all friends, and now, I mean, they were friends, but they weren't like best of friends they are now, so I would like to see how they grew, and like how Mal and Bumblebee came into the superhero life. I think that could have been a little interesting, and maybe in future episodes or in the comic books they'll explain that, probably in the comic books more than future episodes. But tell me what you guys thought about this episode. Do you think this is a more filler episode? Did you love this episode? Did you just like it? For me, I just thought it was a solid episode. Nothing, amazing happened, in my opinion. But tell me in comments below what you thought about this episode. And again, I'll have a review for the next episode, Young Justice, a little later on Saturday, but we'll still have the review next Saturday. And I'll also have New York Comic Con coverage, so be excited for that. This is Comic Uno. See you guys later. Bye.